Okay, welcome to another Wednesday training and excited for all of you to be here. Go ahead and drop in the chat where you are from and and let me know too, are you already running ads? That's always something I'm curious about. If people are already running ads, people are piling in here. So let's get them in here so we could see what's happening on this lovely rainy day that we're having, which is totally fine with me. We need the rain big time. Big time, big time, big time. Very, very much so. It's one of those days that it's like, well, I don't know about this rain today, but we sure need it because everything is like super dusty. More people coming in. Plus everybody's gardens have got to get good, right? A bunch of you out there watering like crazy lately. We have been. Okay, more people coming in. All right. Um, yeah, it's it's really big. It's up here because I was recording last night. It's normally like out of the camera view, like over here, because I got a new camera. Actually, it's normally over here. It is pretty big. It's a pretty big mic. Okay. All right, so let's go into this here a little bit. So this school community is my the equivalent of a Facebook group, right? Where you come, you learn, things and we talk about different topics. Ooh, my throat is dry this morning. Let me get a little water before we get going. Let me get this here. There we go. We get a sip. I think my voice is like had enough. We've had smoke here from the Canada fires for like a couple weeks. I don't know. It doesn't look too hazy. A little bit hazy, maybe. But anyway, so this the school community that we have is the equivalent of my old Facebook group. Because the problem is with Facebook, as we know, that you can't really get your stuff seen organically through Facebook in your groups. And so I moved the free Facebook group over to Skool. And the Skool community is like the equivalent of that. So there's some resources in there. We do these general types of training every Wednesday. I drop some, posts in there throughout the week and things like that. But if you need strategic training and to work on your business, we do have programs of all different investment levels to fit for people's needs and to get that one-on-one training and help and support so that if for us getting into your stuff and looking at it and going into your ads manager and looking at how your ads are written, I spent years and years, like it was 7 years that I spent trying to figure everything out. And it wasn't until I got some strategic training from an individual one-on-one that I was able to break through and start really, hold on, me letting people in, um, really, break through, get to the other side with knowing what was exactly I was doing wrong. And, I was throwing money at Facebook with no return. I was putting in, I think I put in like 50, it was like $5,600 into Facebook. And I was following like little tutorials and doing all that stuff. And I was getting like prospects, right? And I was getting people responding to my ads. Mind you, this was like in 2010. Okay. It was a long time ago. And, but the quality was terrible. And, that is, my song and dance, and then getting those people from the lead list onto the phone and into my business was also a different story. So, there's been many things over the years to put together to learn, and I felt like I had all the pieces that I I had all the right pieces. I just could not get them to work together. And there's an order of things in which the way you run your ad, all the way to getting, the right people to respond, to giving them the right presentations, how fast you get them to a close call. And then there's the whole thing of the close call. And the close call is when you are, you know, getting them started either on your products, your services, your business opportunity, no matter what it is. And then it's time to launch and retain those people, launch them into business, get them on your products, whatever it is, and get either that person going and prospering themselves or a success story on your product, right? So it's like those are the paths that we have to take. And the audience, one thing is funny about the audience is that a lot of times the audience sometimes it's a gray area, with the audience. Is it the audience or is it me? Because there's that too, where everybody always thinks, especially when we're talking to people and we're having conversations, they often think, is it me who, or nobody ever thinks it's them, by the way. Is it the audience? Is it the right settings? Is it the right this? Is it the right that? We're going to talk about some of that, but the key thing is, I would say 40% of the time, it's us that needs to be worked on. We're doing things and saying things that are like turning off the right people, and we're allowing them to string us along. We're allowing them to have the upper hand in the conversation. And we are doing things that we don't realize we're doing that's creating that. And prospects are one of those things. They're like children, and they will take and do as much as you allow them without a boundary. And when I've had clients that have come to me, they come in, they say, these leads suck. And I said, okay, well, let's figure out if they suck. And we go through and I asked just some basic questions. I say, do you um how many do you have? La la la. And then we go through that. And I said, well, are you using my closing scripts? And no, I just get on the phone. I'm really confident because this person that I had a conversation with, her name is Fran, really great closer, really great success in business too. Like she's a beast. She's like, no, I get him on the phone and I tell him what we do and da da da. But everybody's broke and everybody's got no money and everybody's got a husband they need to talk to and whatever. And I said, okay, first, before we start changing and ripping apart your audiences, this is what we need to do. We need to figure out if it's you or the audience. And so I said, are you following my script in the materials? And she's like, no. I said, that's the first thing. She had 3 calls booked for that day and the next morning. And she had 3 calls booked. And I said, well, you need to get off this webinar and you need to go make that script yours and use it for the next calls this next week. Okay, so she left, she did that, get on the webinar the next week. And I said, well, how'd it go? She goes, you were right. She said, I closed 2 of them at my $500 package and one of them at my $900 or $800 package. So in this situation, it was her that was the problem. It wasn't the audience. Now, there are like people, I will tell you, even the best prospect in the entire world will not show up in through your ads and say, I want to join right now. They just won't. Like they still need to be spoken to the right way. They need to get the right preparation. They need to be heightened in an emotional state and when they come to a meeting with you, and so that is probably at least 40% of the time it's a closer issue, as we say it. It's the conversation, it's the wrong script, it's the wrong words, and so there's that whole thing. Now, sometimes it can't, I mean, like I said, it's a dance where sometimes it is the quality that's coming off of Facebook, because or Instagram, and the thing is that what happens is when we put an ad out there, we have let me I got a thing here we could share my screen. Here's this. My audience is for profits. Where is duplicate slide? So, like I said, 40% of the time it's is the I guess you say the business owner. It is you. I'll just put it that it's so much easier. It's like wrong scripts, wrong order of, prospect journey, no urgency. Hold on. Prospect has upper hand. Let's see. Uh, there's closing skills, need work. So there's that. Leadership, development. Okay, so these are some of the things. Sometimes there's a belief issue. I've had prospects that are not prospects, clients that we had everything right in the ads. Like everything was amazing. And they were attracting super high quality people, lots of people looking for a business, and nobody was showing up on the phone or the Zoom. And like we did everything, tweaked the audiences, tweaked the presentations, rewrote the ads. I mean, we did everything. And I finally asked this client, I said, do you even want to talk to these people? And the answer came out after some work was no. She did not want to talk to these people. She felt like she wasn't good enough to be a leader in a business. She felt that she had like imposter syndrome. She felt she didn't know what she was doing. She didn't feel like she was worthy of being in a leadership position. And so she really, I said, well, why are you running ads? She goes, well, this is the craziest part. She goes, I didn't think they would work. I'm like, well, that's a lot of money to invest into having ads and learning how to run ads and not thinking it's going to work, you know. And she didn't believe in herself, and she was hoping at some level it came out that they weren't going to work because then she wouldn't have to talk to people and she would not have to be accountable as a leader. That's when I talk about belief issue and leadership development. So worked on her a little bit, and guess what? People started showing up to her phone calls. It was not, we never changed the ads manager ever. Never changed the ads manager. So it was crazy. Now, 60% of the time, it's the audience that you attract from the beginning. So, the secrets to an ideal audience um, really starts way before we even run an ad. Starts way before that. And one thing I want to ask Sue, before I jump into this one, do you want to share a little bit even of what your journey has been around this with getting these things right? I know that, you've had a journey with it as well.
Sure, I'm still journeying. I'm still on my journey.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, so many things that you've already said, definitely some of them have improved. But others, it's for the longest time, I couldn't get people on the phone. Like whether I was getting the leads, I just couldn't get people on the phone. Then it was really, we worked on my verbiage with my reach outs to them immediately. Tweak the verbiage there after I was on the other Jen when she did a presentation, something clicked. I tweak things. All of a sudden, bango, people were coming on the phone. So that was really great. But that took actually quite a long time. Had I known I could have fixed that earlier, I would have.
I know.
But and now again, I'm kind of, I'm getting people, I'm having great conversations. They are committing, and I know I just shared this with you. They're committing to this sounds like exactly the kind of thing I want to do. Let's do it. Okay, great. I'll send you the link to sign up. And I'm not actually saying let's do it together, which, epiphany, that's what I should have been doing from the beginning. Because what I found is these people that seem like such the best fit, and they were so excited, they still haven't enrolled, or they've enrolled and they haven't placed their first order.
Yep.
And it's like, oh my gosh, they seem so excited. We talked about it. I had like a connection with them. Like these are my kind of people. Because that was another thing I went through for a while. I was attracting the wrong people. Um, but that was just a little tweaking there as well. Then finally, I'm getting the right people, the people I've been looking for. So it's kind of a always, always tweaking a little bit and trying to, find that special secret sauce and keep it rolling.
Yes, and
So,
you've been enrolling and your numbers have been increasing and stuff over time, but it is like what you're saying, it's like feedback and then tweaking, feedback, tweaking, feedback, tweaking, feedback, tweaking. And there's a series of little opportunities throughout the entire process from the prospect looking at the ad, actually even pre-planning, but looking at the ad all the way to the enrollment, there's all these little opportunities that it could break.
hmm, yeah, for
And
sure.
it's like, it's like tuning an instrument, and we're the instrument. We go through and we tune the whole thing through and we get that immediate feedback. And that's what we discussed, yesterday. I don't know if you got my Loom this
I did.
morning
I watched it this morning.
and talking about like I always like, and this was a hard lesson learned way back at the beginning. It was so painful that I would do my presentations and I would enroll people on the spot. Like I would take the order and I would enter it in. Well, one of my business builders was a chiropractor, and she was doing that thing where she was like, here's a piece of paper, here's my enrollment number, go order this and this and this. And she would give her patients that to go home and do that. So you would think that they were her patients and that they were loyal and they were going to do this. And a lot of them did. Well, then I get this panic phone call that one of her patients lost the piece of paper that she gave them, went to the internet, searched the company, put in a $1,500 order on some random site. And it was because she didn't walk them through the enrollment on like in person. And she learned a really big lesson. Luckily, we had a window where we could go back and reel in that order. And that's one of the greatest mistakes on the close is, you know, go enroll yourself, or, go take care of your first order or whatever. And they can even type in the wrong number. Even I know that a lot of the affiliate or the company links are cookied right too. They'll cookie your computer, but all that person needs to do is have, close the browser, or they use a private browser and the cookie's gone if people have it set up to, get rid of cache the cookie. And they never enroll. Or you could be like me, and I have how many tabs open on the top of my computer? Some of them are with very good meaning to go and look at things I want to buy. And even I looked at here on my phone. I have on my phone, I have 300 tabs open on my phone browser, and I could bet you there's at least 50 of my well-intended things I'm going to order. I guarantee. There's 317 tabs open on that browser on Safari. I could bet you at least 50, I would probably say more towards 100 of those tabs are me having good intentions of going and ordering something. So people are, I mean, this is my daily thing. And usually by the end of the day, it's double this because I'm opening things, I'm clicking, I'm looking, and oh, yeah, I want to order that. Let's see if I got any good ones in here that I'm just looking to see if I have one that is up. There's your stats there, Sue. I'm just looking to see if usually I have a tab open of me looking at buying something. No, not today. But often I can tell you on this browser, usually I've got one or two tabs of stuff I'm looking at. And that's just the way, how many of you have that where you're like, you have something that you are well-meaning and you're like, okay, I want to go get that. You put it in, or it comes through on your email and you're like, oh yeah, I gotta open that, I gotta do that email. And it's just what we do, and I'm telling you, it is sometimes not even the prospect is being like evasive or ghosting you. They're just flaking out. Like people are so overstimulated, they're so overcommitted, and sitting them down and saying, you know, Sue, I know, like, let's get your order in. We're on the Zoom. Let's record it. Then you'll know how to do this too. And you can have this recording for when you're sharing this with other people. And let me walk you through the process. And then well, because sometimes this is what I would tell people, even when I was prospecting, I'd be like, going to that website, you click the wrong button, the wrong thing gets sent to you, or you don't get it set up to where you're a brand partner. We want to make sure that this goes right and that you get started on the right foot. Plus, then you're going to learn how to do it for when your friends are excited, or you might have a family member, who knows, whatever, you'll know how to do this. And then I walk them through the process. And that really, 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 really helps with that close and the evasiveness. So yeah, but and it's a lot of it and a lot of it. And the same, another thing is before we get into some of the other audience stuff is, when working the list, it's really, really important to be consistent in the follow-up and the follow-through. A lot of people think it's their audience is the problem, but they don't have enough follow-up and relationship building through the list happening. And that's so the first thing is like 40% is probably there's error with the communication directly and that individual. It's a people issue, like a we issue, like the person in the mirror issue. And then there's probably like 20% that is, there's not enough follow-up. And I could put this here. Oops, that's the wrong number. 20%. Okay, let's get in here. 20% of the time it's follow-up or lack thereof. People should be getting an email every day, follow up from you. Most people think once a month is good or never after somebody responds to their ad. But every day an email needs to go out. And that's the ideal. Because like what is the best day of the week to write a follow-up and send an email? Every day. That's the saying in the direct response industry. Also, making sure you're texting your prospects. I prefer to do at least once a week. When people come off of an ad, I do a series of follow-ups, like every day, then every other day, then every third day, then once a week. So you want to like, bring it intense to less intense because you don't want to abuse that texting. But, once a week type of text, it's really, most people don't do this, by the way. They don't do the follow-up. They think that people are going to magically follow through. They think the audience is the problem. I see the comments in Skool, I see the posts, I can't get these people. My audience is terrible. Facebook ads don't work, Instagram ads don't work, all of this. And I'm like, that person has a system problem. I see it every time. I'm like, that person has a system problem. 40% of the time it's them. 20% of the time it's a lack of follow-up or correct follow-up. You also need to be inviting to presentations at least once a week, at least one time a week. Inviting to presentations could be a live Zoom, could be a recorded thing, but that person needs to be invited to a presentation or an event once a week. And this will help people, um, get to know you, like you, trust you, etc. I'm getting their email through the ad. I collect their emails through the ads, and I show my clients how to do that. We collect the phone number and the email through the ads. And so we have this database. Like I checked the last time I checked, I had 53,000 people on my list. And, you know, the last time I ran a test through to do this, like to test and tweak this process, we had like 5,000 people on the list to run it. Um, I'm not a recorded webinar, no. Nope, that's not what we teach. So, the or it could be recorded via cell. We go to a website. We're not sending people to a webinar where they register to watch a webinar because the webinar itself is, a lot of setup. And if people are selling high ticket, then the webinar may be appropriate. But if they're not, then we use website landing page. Yeah, because for getting people to opt in off of an ad on a landing page, your cost per lead is going to be at least $10 to $15, more like 15 to 20. If you're lucky, 12. That's a lottery day. If you're doing a conversion ad to register for a webinar. But if you're using other types of ads that I talk about here, lead generation ads and things like that, we can get way better cost per lead. So 20% is in your follow-up. So you've got this has got to be in place, and getting people to converse with you, developing the relationship. But then we've got this other piece here that where it's going to be the other 40%, it is the targeting. And this is where we get the better audiences. But like I said, 60% of the time, it is not, it's not the ad. Like it's not that. It's other stuff, other variables, other opportunities for this thing to break, and this is why, when I was originally learning this, I didn't know this. I thought it was people respond to the ad and then they were going to join my business. Like a miracle. Like I could just find those people. It'll be like sticking a fishing pole in the lake and I will have them just pulling them in like easy peasy. And I was quickly humbled and I realized there's a system and an order to all of this. And when I got that, I all of a sudden now I had a tax problem because my accountant's like, "What did you do?" I said, "I started making money." I know this is what I told him. He goes, "Well, do you realize how much you owe in taxes now?" I said, "No." He goes, "Well, what did you do?" I said, "I hired a coach." I said, "I actually figured out how to learn this correctly." Oh, I got a little thing at 10 o'clock. Hold on, let me make sure that is off. So, yeah, it was kind of a funny day. It wasn't funny because of the amount of money I owed, but it was funny because it was like a real slap in my face. That's my biggest regret is not getting strategic guidance sooner because I know I missed out on a lot of time with me farting around trying to figure stuff out. So, 40% of the time it is targeting and finding the better audiences, but the that begins at the first step to this is knowing who you are going to run an ad to. You've got to be really clear on who that individual is, what they're looking for, what they're not looking for, what they've tried already, how long they've been struggling, what you've got to be able to get in their head and you've got to be really clear as to who your ideal prospect is. Because if you don't, you cannot write the ad. You cannot go in and do the targeting in Facebook. The biggest mistake that people make in Facebook is they go into the area where the audiences are and they put everybody that could possibly be their prospect. I'm not going to have you guys incriminate yourself either, and say, oh, I did that because I know I did it. I'm like, oh my gosh, all these people could be my prospect. When you're in the ads manager and you can be like, oh, look at, I could get people that have these great zip codes. I've got people that, can do all this fabulousness. And oh man, it was like amazing. If I'm looking in the ads manager and I'm like, oh, come on, ads manager, I can go in here into the targeting and I can look into this wonderful world of, oh my God, this is amazing. Look at this stuff. I can go in and I can find people that are such a perfect age. Oh my goodness. I can go people that are 45 to 60, and I can target women. And then I can go in here and oh man, I can get people that are interested in Richard Branson and people that are interested in let's see, health and wellness, and I can look at people who have money. Okay, I can do income, and I can go, oh yeah, up this 5% of the income in the United States. Those people are going to have money. Oh, I want them to be parents too. No, I want them to be moms. Yeah, I want them to be moms. Let's see, motherhood, child and parenting. Okay. And now this is a dumpster fire of an audience. I mean, has anybody here done this before? Like this is really the average person does the most, I'd say 95% of people do this. And then they're like, I want let's see, I want them to be placed everywhere. They leave the placements open to everything. They let Facebook show it wherever they want. And this is typical, and Facebook gets very confused with this. So you've got to be really specific on what you're looking for here. But that starts with this. You got to know who you're running your ad to. What are their interests? What are their problems? What have they tried? Do they have money? Are they, living in certain parts of the country? Are they parents? But the thing is that the way that Facebook is going, this targeting that's in the ads manager is the uh not the same as it used to be. If you've run ads for a long time, you know this. Like the ads, we call it ads or not ads, interest group audience Armageddon, and that happened 2 years ago. It's like 2023, I think it was. It's kind of a blur. Could have been 21. I don't know. It was within the last 5 years. Like, Facebook gutted it. There's a lot laws that are not allowing certain audiences to be built. And, that is, it's created an issue because of privacy from, Facebook being able to track people from their behaviors on Facebook to other sites. And that is, really one of those big problems that we've had. There was a really great website, and uh, I'm trying to remember what this name was. There's a name of a website that is really, here it is. Axiom is a place that you can like do some research on yourself or your own prospect and dig in. Axiom provides data to different, it's almost in a way, look at it like a census in a way. It's kind of interesting. They've got people categorized in different industries, lifestyle. We call it the Personix lifestyle cluster. And there are different clusters of types of people in general. And you can do this. You can put in what's my Personix lifestyle cluster and go to the Axiom website and you can find this. And this company accesses a lot of gives a lot of data to places like Facebook for audiences. They have access to the data that comes off of your credit cards, and they look at the buying patterns of people and what they're doing. And that data is pooled and conglomerated together, and that is shared with Facebook. This is one of the sources for Facebook audiences is Axiom. And you can go through and find out your lifestyle cluster, and it will let's say head of household could be this. Let's just do this for fun. Let's just put that 100K, six-figure earner, household net worth, probably that average person, hey, marketing footprint. Um, represents the data, probably average. Let's do a zip code. What is Chicago's? Let's do a Milwaukee zip code. Milwaukee zip code. Here's one. 53201. Let's do Milwaukee. I could do Chicago, but that's lies. 53201. That is a zip code. Let's try this one. Here we go. This is cultured parents, cluster number 14. So you can use this with ChatGPT and expand on cluster 14 and find out more about this. Um, so the average age is 52.1% of all households is 1.4. Average income is 132. Average net worth is 949. Marketing footprint of this 6.4. Um, fairly cultured parents is the cluster. So you could do more digging on this in ChatGPT with a cultured parent slash cluster Personix lifestyle cluster 14. And hold on, I'm gonna sneeze. Ooh. Here's some things that you could pull right into your targeting. Um, include art shows, operas, musical performances, as well as playing golf and racquetball. They're likely to travel abroad, visit cultural historical places such as Italy or Spain, and several appear to be interested in celebrities. Magazines like Us Weekly, People, or Vogue. 40% of cultured parents finish college or graduate school. So this gives you some stuff here, but you could do deeper research on this. And like I said, this is what Facebook uses to create a lot of their audiences, by the way. So that's the first piece is you got to know who is your ideal prospect. You know, before you even go in the ads manager, you have to know who the ideal prospect is. So when you know that, you can also write an ad and repel the wrong people. because Facebook now is relying more and more on Facebook is relying more and more on the image and the ad as the targeting, not even in the ads manager itself. So, you are able to, if you're in the ads manager, um, where is the ads manager? If you're in the ads manager, everybody thinks this is the targeting. The real targeting is in the ad. The real targeting is in the ad. The primary text of the ad is what is like, think of Facebook as SEO, and your your words in your ad have to be correctly defining when Facebook scans it with the algorithm. When they scan it, the AI should know what it's about. And you can even take your ad and write it and then put it into ChatGPT, or you can use another tool. One of the tools that I use, it's called Abacus. And Abacus, you can use um, Llama. Llama is Facebook's algorithm. And you can, oh, you got it, Ruth? Llama is Facebook's algorithm. So you can take an ad that you wrote and you could put it in here and you could say, who would this ad target on Facebook? And you could see, like I could look at, do I have my Facebook open today? Let's see. Let's see if this is, okay, here's an ad. Okay. I can grab this guy's ad and I could say, who would this ad target? Let's see if this figures this out. It may not. There you go. So you can put your own ad in here and you can see what is it gonna do? Who's it gonna follow? And this is what, but a lot of times this is off the mark because you won't know. But you can play with this. I did this the other day. I did an analysis and I said, looking at this ad copy, we're seeing this kind of ad, we're seeing this kind of individual responding to the ad. Here is the ad copy, analyze and ask me questions to figure out why this is happening. And it was a very interesting analysis. So, you've got to write your ads to this ideal prospect, like really specifically, and being able to do that and not have the ad attract the broke crazy people is really a matter of putting it out there and then seeing who responds and then tweaking and dialing it in, you know? So, you've got to be able to do this. This is huge. Also, your image, it's very important with the image to call out the ideal prospect as well. Okay. So Facebook is relying more and more on these two things than anything. The ads manager now, when we're talking about settings, that's the last thing. Because if you don't have these things right, you're going to attract broke, crazy people. But then remember, this is only 40% of the party. 20% of it is here, 40% of it is you. So, getting the right people to respond initially, you know, that is no, you cannot use before and after images, Sherry. You will lose your ad account if you do that. You are in the ads manager and you're looking at all these settings, you know, the different ads have different purposes. You have awareness ads, you have traffic ads, you have engagement ads, you have lead ads, you have app promotion, which I don't never know anybody that uses that. And then you have sales. Sales is pretty much for like anybody doing like e-commerce. Most of the time, people that I work with, we use these three, and more likely these and these, you know. So, there's awareness ads just show it to anybody. But there's, what we call in the world of marketing, you might have heard this, your funnel, um, your top of funnel, your middle of funnel, and your bottom of funnel. Your top of funnel are going to be, just think of these almost like the funnel. Actually, I should have just recorded it like that. I should have just done this like that. Um, these are more, I'd say like that. This one we don't really matter. We'll just pretend like app promotion doesn't exist. And this is top of funnel. This is middle of funnel, and this is bottom of funnel. And so these are used to create, and warm up the audience. This is where you harvest the leads, and this is where you convert. You can also, bottom of funnel and middle of funnel ads, you can, it can be interchangeable. But, there's different even within these, you've got your, just to speak to the right audience, you need to, I'm looking at daily budget, $1,000 in one ad. Yeah. You can also use bid cap, where that's your maximum bid that you're gonna put on that ad, and that's done right here. Typically your bid cap is, 3 to 4 times the amount of your spend that you would like to do with uh, your lead. Because if you think, oh, I want a lead for $1.50 and your average lead is $3, your ads are never going to get shown. But even within an engagement ad, there's all these different ads, video views, post engagement, event ads, reminders, things like that. So when you are going into the ads manager, these are what different levels of awareness of your prospects, and even the ones, I guess I should put here under the follow-up, retargeting ads, is getting your ads back in front of those people. It's interesting that one thing we're seeing with some of the newest algorithm updates is Facebook is doing a lot of retargeting immediately on the ad. I have a new ad that I launched over the weekend, and the audience size is like 23 million, and it's showing to the same group of 1,000 people over and over and over. It's locking in and doing retargeting before it does its next segment of the audience. It's very interesting. We've never seen that before, but it's, since they've loaded in these recent updates, I think that's the direction. They're locking in on an audience and trying to find those people. And when they find the engaged people, they're going to keep showing it and showing it, or for they move to another segment of the audience. So I'd be curious as that my test ages how it does, or if it spins into another segment of the audience. An ad that I had running from last week was really crazy. Running some tests, and it was so interesting because the audience I was like, what? This ad, let me go back to when did this start? A lot of times on Facebook, when you launch your ads, you have to start out knowing your audience, targeting the right people, writing the ad correctly, getting a good image to speak to the right people. But then you got to play the Facebook song and dance. So this ad on the day that it was launched, these leads came in at 26 and $40 a lead. And I was like, I don't think I'm real happy with that. So I'm just like, I'm just gonna let Facebook rotate through all these images. I turned off strategically turned off some images, and the next day, you could see I turned off this image, and I turned off I think I turned off this one first, and I got some better numbers, 17 and 29, and I'm like, oh, okay, we're moving in the right direction. So I cycled through and turned off every image once it got to a certain reach. And then as Facebook is dialing in, as I was saying, they're looking at your ad, they're looking at the copy, and they're trying to find the right people. Well, then on Saturday, or it was the 15th Saturday, Sunday, I'm like, this is a shit show. So I'm like, this is $60 a lead. I'm not liking that. So I started rotating through, and when every image hit a certain size, a certain reach, I turned off and opened the next one. So then as it's dialed in, you'll see what happens. When I flipped on this original one again, and ever since then, the lead is now at a really great price for what I'm looking for. This is for my in within my KPIs. And I cycled through all of these ads, allowing Facebook, if you notice, I allowed Facebook to get to the reach of about 1,000 before I really made any um, decisions on what stayed. This one here, I just never even got it to that because I think the number was so low on this CTR, like click through. Oh, I might turn that one back on. It's 1.4, pretty low cost per link click. But I think it ran and didn't. I might flip it back on. It only spent $9, but I found a really good winner, and I was really happy with it. Um, but as you can see, every image, this is the same ad copy, same targeting, different image, and how much an image can impact the cost per lead from $83 a lead to $19 a lead. Same copy, same targeting, everything. That's how much your image can speak to the right person. So when I say that this is like your image is so important, your ad copy is so important. This is how you find the better right people is by having these things dialed in, but then also your follow-up system. And then of course you're dialed in. We are so such an important part of this, but the targeting itself, everybody thinks there's a magic setting in there. And one thing I will always say, and I've been saying this for years, do not let Facebook use the Advantage Plus settings. They will take every dollar you have and throw it down the toilet. I will say this, I've been saying it ever since they started with using Advantage Plus. You do not want to use anything Advantage Plus. Switch to recommended setup. The answer is no. Advantage Plus on Facebook means we're going to decide how to spend your money. Advantage Plus placements? No, 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 no. No. The answer is no. Have you ever we still control everything manually. You do not want the placements to be on on Facebook's. Where is it at here? Right here is Advantage Plus. Suggest an audience. We will reach the people beyond these settings when it's likely to improve performance. No. Advantage is on. See this one? The answer is no. We want to manually control these settings. Placement controls. So yeah, so we want to go to further limit, switch setup. Now we're in manual setup. So don't let Facebook do that. So no Advantage Plus. Okay, so there we go. Hopefully this will assist you and help you and rock this out. There is a lot of there's always more. It's an art, as I like to say. It's really an art form where you dial in and you are able to you know, refine each step because you got to find out, like, is it me? Is it them? Is it the ad? Am I not clear enough? What's, the story with this? And that is why we have to go through and look at each of these things. Like, where am I checking off on this? So, like I mentioned earlier, like if you have not done your onboarding call with us and you need help with your ads and you're like, I need to get these leads coming in. I know this works, but Facebook and I are not jiving yet. Please set up your onboarding call and make sure that we go through and see how we can help and support you. I just dropped that link in the chat. Patty had a question. Um, Patty, my KPIs for cost per lead, everybody's got a different one. For network marketing, I like to see the leads for product to come in $1 to $3 a lead for product. Sometimes four if it's a really competitive market. The KPIs I like to key performance indicator that I like to use for BizOp leads are like $3 to $6 a lead. I like, especially when it's about four, is really where I like it. My personal leads, if I get leads that are $10 or under, my lead quality goes to crap shit. I like it when my leads are somewhere in the $20 range. My webinar leads are about the $40 range, $35 range, and that's how I know I'm going to get the quality and they're not just giving me junk. So I hope that answers that. Every market and every level of the funnel also has different KPIs or key performance indicators. And sometimes really expensive leads are not good, but sometimes really cheap leads aren't good. Like when I was running my ads for school and I was getting $5, $6 leads in school, it was bringing me the worst quality of leads. I had to go in and dial up the ad copy, the image quality. I had to really dial it in to get a better quality lead, even though it was twice the price. I pay it. Because yeah, it's better to have a more expensive lead that is better than a cheap lead that is garbage. So yeah, that's a really good question, Patty. So, all right, everybody. Well, have a great day. This recording will be in the classroom area under the live recordings sometime in the next day or so. And I will see you next week. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.